How's it going, everybody? This is the Dual Threat Podcast, your daily news source for all things sports. I'm one of your hosts, Jacob.
And I'm Michael.
Before we get into this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit like and comment if you have any disagreements with us. Also, follow us on Twitter at Dual Threat and on TikTok at Dual Threat Podcast. Without further ado, I say we get right into it. Last night, we saw a Thursday night football game between the Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. Final score was 34-17. Green Bay came out on top in this one. What did you see here?
17 is a gracious number because the 49ers had 2 touchdowns in the definition of garbage time. They had Richie James had a 41-yard catch for a touchdown with 5 minutes left, and Jerick McKinnon had a run with 4 seconds left. Some things I really noticed, I kind of like Nick Mullins going into the game because the week before he didn't really do bad for his first game in for Jimmy Garoppolo. And at the beginning of the game, he actually looked pretty decent. He was hitting open receivers. They were just dropping the ball. He had a pretty decent throw in the corner of the end zone. The receiver got 2 feet down. He just couldn't maintain it down to the ground. But then I started noticing the Packers getting a lot of pressure on him, and basically it just kind of went downhill from there. He was getting rushed a lot, and even though the Packers only had 1 sack, I saw Nick Mullins getting hit and hurried a lot, and it led to one of his interceptions, and then or his only interception, I want to say. I think he only had 1, and then he did, and then it led to a fumble. So I thought he was going to have a good game, but I think the Packers defense just basically shut down the entire 49ers scheme. So.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head when you said 17 was a gracious number for multiple reasons, because looking at the Packers number 17, Davante Adams had a monster game.
Yes, he did.
And it all started with that 36-yard touchdown strike in the front corner of the end zone. That was just a great catch. He ended with 10 for 173 and a touchdown. Nobody else on the Packers had more than 4. Aaron Jones had 5 receptions for 21 yards, all checkdowns. Davante Adams just was torching the Niners defense. Marquez Valdes-Scantling had 2 catches for 53 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he was efficient. Got in the red zone. Got in the end zone when they threw it to him. But yeah, Davante was a huge part of Aaron Rodgers' 25 for 31 for 305 yards and 4 touchdowns. It was all Green Bay for the first 3.5 quarters of this game. And it showed. Looking at San Francisco, Nick Mullins didn't do bad. You talked about garbage time, which probably translated to a lot of Nick Mullins' stats. But 22 of 35 for 291 isn't horrible. He had the 1 turnover and another interception that should have happened, but the Packers guy just dropped it.
He had a fumble too.
Yeah. But in terms of throwing the ball, he wasn't horrible, but you could tell they were missing Kittle. They were missing Kendrick Bourne, they were missing Brandon Ayuk. Their offense is just dismantled right now.
And I mean, it's your first game back from losing all those guys against a pretty good Packers team. I mean, pretty good is an understatement. So, I don't think anyone expected them to even be close, and they really weren't. But I was actually really excited for this game before all the injuries happened, and I was kind of sad when I heard about all that because I knew this was going to be an outcome. I mean, you can't really beat Aaron Rodgers with backups in at all.
Yeah, no, 100%. And going in, I was Jared and I talked about it on Tuesday in our fantasy show a little bit. At the time, Aaron Jones wasn't sure if he was going to play. He ended up playing, had 15 carries, and like I said, the 5 receptions. So he got a lot of work tonight coming off of injury, and they needed it because their backfield is dismantled. Because of COVID and because of close contact with COVID, a lot of them couldn't play.
I mean, they didn't really need a running back this game, but still.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers did everything himself, it felt like.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can go into the first game for Sunday that we're going to talk about. I think the first one on that list is Seahawks versus Bills. 6-1 Seattle heading to Buffalo to play the 6-2 Bills. How are you feeling about this game?
I mean, personally, I think I got to take Seattle because I think other than the Cardinals game, they've dominated a lot. And watching the Buffalo Bills beat the Patriots by 3 on just because Cam Newton fumbled on the 12-yard line it shouldn't have been that close of a game, especially with a really good Bills team against a not great Patriots team. So I think Seattle comes out and just absolutely demolishes Buffalo.
Yeah, I think it's going to be weird to say because it's a guy that you don't think of a lot when you think of the Bills offense.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big key for Buffalo this weekend is going to be getting John Brown the football.
Really?
And like I said, it's not a guy you think of, but you look at his first 2 games and he was good and they used him, which again, you have Stephon Diggs, you have a lot of guys on that team. It's kind of weird to think that John Brown would be a focal point of your offense, but you look at the first 3 weeks of the season, Josh Allen looked like an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
John Brown goes down and has had, it feels like, no more than like 3 targets in the last like 3 games that he's played in.
Yeah.
And it's for some reason, I guess it has to do with just spacing the field out because obviously he's kind of like a speedster and runs down the field. And those big plays that Josh Allen has the arm for and can throw the ball, put the ball anywhere on the field that he wants to, it's the lack of big plays and they're tightening up towards the middle of the field. Josh Allen is playing great, but not giving John Brown the ball is just it. I think that's a big part of where their offense is lacking. It's making them too one-dimensional and too easy to play. And I think if they're gonna come even close to Seattle, they got to get him the football. Devin Singletary saw a decent amount more work than he had been recently last week, which was good. They got him the ball, got the ground game going. Stephon Diggs has obviously been great, but Seattle it seemed like they were unbeatable for most of the season.
Yeah.
Even through that Arizona game, for most of the game, it felt like they were unbeatable until the very end. Russ threw that pick. But he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and I can't see Seattle winning this one. Losing this one to Buffalo.
Yeah, and I think it's also good that Buffalo gets Zach Moss back, but in a game like this, I don't think your main focus isn't to run the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Especially when you have Russell Wilson coming out with DK and Tyler Lockett firing on all cylinders. It's gonna be a very high paced game, and like I said, I think Seattle's gonna come out strong, and I don't think it's gonna really be close for most of the game.
No, I agree. The line on that one is Seattle -3. If I were a betting man, I'd put my money on Seattle's side of that line. I think they take it by more than 3, unless Josh Allen shows up, which I have him in fantasy in the last 4 weeks. He has been not good, and so unless he somehow figures out whatever was going on, I can't see Seattle winning this game by less than probably 10. That's I think my take on it. All right, next one. I think we're gonna go to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Not the Superdome, but the one in Atlanta. Broncos at the Falcons. Last week, you and I talked. We both think Atlanta's better than their record shows.
I agree.
And you called Atlanta by 7. They ended up winning by 8.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do you think it's more of the same in this one against a Denver team who came back super late against the Chargers last week, but for the first 3 quarters did not look very good?
Yeah, I do. And like you just said, the record doesn't really translate into how good of a team Atlanta is.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Calvin Ridley didn't practice at all today, I want to say, and Russell Gage is questionable. So if those guys don't play, then that's definitely a big hit to Atlanta's offense because that's 2/3 of their main passing guys.
Right.
You could say Julio maybe counts for 2 guys, but I don't know. And then you have A.J. Boye that still didn't practice today with a concussion, so that's a big corner out for Denver. And Phillip Lindsay, I think, was limited at practice today. So I don't know. Like I said, the Falcons are a good team in my eyes, even though they're 2-6. And the Broncos beating the Chargers, which aren't a very good team, by 1 on literally the last second of the game. It doesn't give me high hopes for that team, and so I think the Falcons take this one.
No, I agree. I think you called it. You look at Matt Ryan's stats. He's thrown for almost 2,500 yards, 12 touchdowns. He has 4 picks, but that's to be expected when you're in a high volume passing offense. I agree. I think Ridley, I mean, he's the Falcons' leading receiver. He's obviously, they're going to miss him a lot if he doesn't play.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I touched on it in the recap on Tuesday, or I'm sorry, on Monday. Philip Lindsay is a huge part of that Denver offense. Melvin Gordon is not the same running back that he used to be, and Philip Lindsay brings a lot of explosiveness and big playability that Melvin can't. And especially if he can't play, I think Falcons are the clear favorite. If Ridley can't play and Russell Gage can't play, maybe the Falcons will figure out how to use Julio, because he averages the most receiving yards per game of any receiver of all time at like 96 or something.
Just can't find the end zone,
which is insane. But for some reason, the Falcons, I mean, if they figured out if they used him like Calvin Johnson, he would potentially go down as the greatest receiver of all time.
Yeah.
Because he is just a freak of nature athletically and has almost as good of hands as anybody in the league, aside from maybe DeAndre Hopkins. Michael Thomas is up there too, obviously. There are a lot of elite guys. But, I mean, he's up there with the greats in the league right now. And, yeah, I think if Calvin Ridley can't play, I think Julio will have absolutely tear up the Broncos defense, and he'll have a huge day, I think.
Yeah. I think he definitely will. But, yeah, no, I still got to take the Falcons, just like, I don't know. I want the Falcons to be good because I called that, and I'm waiting until they are recognized as a good team because I think they are. So
yeah, I mean,
I'm picking them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I mean, they're favored by 4. I don't know if I'd necessarily bet their side of that line because I do think it could be a close game. I mean, look at last week with the Broncos. They led a late comeback. I mean, I could see them winning by 7, but I wouldn't assume it would be much more than that. I think it's going to be close, but I do think Atlanta definitely pulls this one off.
I mean, Atlanta's 3-5 against the spread, and the Broncos are 5-2. So if I was a betting man, I might have to take the Broncos if I was looking at the spread, but just straight up in a game, I got to take the Falcons.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Falcons take this one. All right. Next up, we're gonna head to Nashville. Bears 5-3 at the Titans. Bears have dropped 2 in a row, losing to the Rams and then losing that overtime thriller against the Saints last week.
Yeah.
I don't think this one's close. At all. Honestly.
You think the Titans?
I think the Titans would take this one big. The Titans did drop last week. They're actually on a 2-game losing streak as well. They started 5-0, lost to a obviously fantastic Steelers team by 3, and then ran into some hiccups at the Bengals last week. Joe Burrow had a great game, but I think the Titans, I think they're going to figure it out this week. They're going to bounce back from those 2 losses. I mean, you look at A.J. Brown has been playing great. Corey Davis had a great game last week. Derrick Henry is obviously always good. I think A.J. Brown's also questionable, but I think if he plays, and probably even if he doesn't, I think Tennessee. That might be a good marketing thing. Tennessee. I think Tennessee wins this one. They're favored by 6.5. I do think it could be close because obviously the Bears have an elite defense, and I think Tennessee's defense is a decent amount worse than the Bears. But dude, their Bears offense looks terrible.
I'm gonna say a big what if here.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of what ifs, but A.J. Brown didn't practice today, and I know he has some time. Or yesterday he didn't practice. I know he has some time until the game. If he does not play in this game, I'm gonna take Bears. And if he does play in this game, I'm taking the Tennessee Titans.
The Tennessee Titans.
Titans.
Let's make that a thing.
Let's make it a thing. The Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Personally, I think I'm going to take the Titans either way. Just looking at it, obviously, not Corey Davis. Obviously, A.J. Brown has been hurt for a decent amount of the season. I think he missed
on and off.
I think he missed 2 games early and then has been kind of playing injured, not practicing a whole lot leading up until the game, but it's still playing. So it feels like he's kind of been working through some stuff all season. But Corey Davis is actually their leading receiver.
Yeah.
29 receptions, 369 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the year. And again, he's also been working through injuries. He's just now getting healthy. And I think he'll step up if A.J. Brown doesn't play. I think Jonnu Smith, who has been pretty non-existent recently, I have him in fantasy as well. I think Jonnu Smith is a good tight end. We saw it in the first 3-4 weeks of the season when they were winning, and I think they're going to figure out work him back into the scheme a little bit more. And I think either way, the Titans come out on top. But I do get the concern because A.J. Brown is a freak of nature, and it's definitely a valid argument that the Bears could take it if he doesn't play.
I don't know. It's just like, to me, the Titans have been giving up a lot on defense recently, and I know the Bears' offense doesn't look good, but the Bears have actually been pretty sound defensively. Yeah. I mean, 85 rushing yards a game and 246 passing yards a game. That's not bad, but both of those are significantly less than what the Titans are giving up, and they're allowing less points per game. So I think that if the Titans don't have their full healthy offense, I don't think that they can get this one done, and I think the Bears are going to take it.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. Well, we will see. We will see if A.J. Brown plays, and we will see if we agree or disagree on that one.
Yep. Let's see.
All right.
Next.
Next game I have in Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Ravens taking on the Colts, both 5-2. Ravens are 3-0 on the road. Colts are 3-0 at home. So this is really, this is a battle of very similar record-wise, at least, teams. Baltimore is actually favored in this one, -2. Not a lot on the injury report for Baltimore, which is good. Mark Ingram's questionable, but I don't think he played last week.
He didn't practice yesterday.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he played last week, or if he did, maybe he went out early because the parts of that game that I caught against the Steelers, he was not playing. It was a lot more J.K. Dobbins that they were utilizing. Indianapolis, I mean, looking at this injury report, all 4 of the players that are showing up for me are on offense, which is a little bit alarming. 3 wide receivers and a tight end, Mo Alley Cox being the tight end. And I think I'm going to go with Baltimore on this one. You look at, I mean, that injury report for the Colts continues, looking at a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who has been really good for you, who I don't know his practice status today, but I know he played through an injury for the rest of the game, kind of. He played like a third of the snaps because they weren't using him a lot. And that allowed Nyheim Hines and I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Wilkins for the Colts. They got a lot more snaps, which they actually did really well, but I do think that the Ravens are going to come in here and win this football game.
I am going to disagree with you once more.
Okay.
I think the Colts are on an absolute opposite pace, at least offensively, than the Ravens. The Ravens just came off a loss to Pittsburgh where Lamar Jackson had 4 turnovers, and the Colts are coming off a 41-21 absolute beatdown against the Lions where let me see. I'm trying to pull up the stats right now. Phillip Rivers went off for 262, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. So, and then I mentioned on the last video that Lamar Jackson the week before that threw for his career low in yards, and then the week before that the Ravens beat the terrible Eagles by 2, and so I think recently. After watching the Colts beat the Lions 41-21, I know the Lions lost Kenny Golladay early, but right now, when you're looking at the path that they're on, I'm liking Phillip Rivers over Lamar Jackson. They're not using Hollywood Brown at all, which is worrisome to me. Mark Andrews didn't have a big game last week. It was just no one really did anything that well last week against the Steelers. And so, I don't know. It's just... I like the Colts. They're 5-2. They're both 5-2, and I know that ESPN gives the Ravens almost a 60% chance to win this game, but not with the spread or anything. Straight up, I'm taking the Colts in this game.
Yeah, I mean that's valid for sure. I think I still think the Ravens are going to win. I mean, you look at their losses, and it's to the Chiefs and the Steelers, who have a combined one loss. And I mean, you look at their wins. They don't have a whole lot of good wins, but one game that I'm particularly zoning in on is they played the Bengals on the road and they beat them by 24.
Yeah,
and you may think sit there like the Bengals, whatever, they obviously the number 1 overall pick. But then the very next week, the Bengals were also at home against the Colts and put up 27. And so I think the Ravens and Colts both have elite defenses. I think the Ravens have 2 acceptable losses. I mean, looking at them, they're 2 AFC Championship contending teams. It could be the Chiefs Steelers in the AFC Championship. And I think when you look at it like that, you're right. They played Philly close, which was obviously not great, but they also played the Steelers close and lost because of turning the football over. And I think if they get that sorted out, I think it may be close, maybe closer than people than. I mean, I guess it's a 2-point line, so people are expecting it to be close. But I think the Ravens are going to come out with this one.
All right. Let's agree to disagree.
I'm always down for that. All right. Next up, we have another noon game on Sunday. We have the Chiefs. We were just talking about them. Panthers heading to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. Chiefs 10.5-point favorites in this one. The only upside for the Panthers is they should be getting Christian McCaffrey back this week.
They should be.
Should be, right. But everything I've seen is saying that he's, even if it's limited, still practicing. He's slated to go from what I've seen, he's slated to go on Sunday. But does it make a difference to you? I don't think it does.
No.
I mean, Mike Davis has been good. Chiefs defense has been better. And I think even if McCaffrey plays, he's a great fantasy play, obviously, no matter who he's playing all the time, anywhere. But I think I don't see the Chiefs dropping this one anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, today in an interview, they said that if the Panthers were yesterday they were saying that if the Panthers were to play yesterday on Thursday night instead of Sunday, that they think McCaffrey would have been able to play. But the Panthers also said that they didn't want to get ahead of themselves and do too much with McCaffrey because he's coming off a pretty big injury. If I'm the Panthers, honestly, take the loss. Don't play McCaffrey this week because there's no point in – I know that the Steelers are undefeated, but there's no point in playing your best player coming off an injury against – you could argue the best team in the NFL.
Absolutely.
The only time I think I would ever take the Panthers in my life in this game is if I was taking the spread, and that's still making me hesitant. I mean, it's 10.5. But, like, you look at the Kansas City, like, report. They don't really have any big injuries. I mean, neither do the Panthers, but I think in order for the Panthers to beat the Chiefs, you would need a big injury. I know they had Chandler Jones get put on the COVID list, but Chris Jones, sorry, not Chandler Jones. Chris Jones, he got put on the COVID list, but he hasn't actually tested positive. He just came within close contact, so it's just a precautionary measure that they're taking. He could be in that game, and he's a big defensive lineman for him. So, all signs, all stats, and all players point to the Chiefs in this game. I don't think it's a close one, and I feel like we don't really need to expand our detail on that one.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. Yeah. Like you said about the line, 10.5 points. It might be, honestly, a little bit too close. I feel like it'd be a little more comfortable to take the Panther side if it were 14.5, because I think that could easily be like what would it be? 35-21 game potentially, because I do think Teddy has been playing great for the Panthers this year, and I think they could put up some points, not enough to win, but I think 2 touchdowns is a little more reasonable than 10 points for that game. But I mean, it could be a 40-point game like the Jets game was last week or whatever that ended up being. So we'll see. We'll see how that one goes up. But yeah, I think we're both on the Chiefs on that one for sure. Okay, heading into the next game. It is the 3-4 Lions heading to Minnesota to take on the 2-5 Vikings, who are coming off a massive win in Green Bay. So what do you think about this one?
I think I got to take the Vikings, especially because Kenny Golladay has been day by day, and being a past Kenny Golladay fantasy owner, that always means out. Mm-hmm. So I think the Lions without their best pass catcher, and then correct me if I'm wrong. I am wrong. Never mind. Missed that. But I just think without their best pass catcher, and then seeing Dalvin Cook come off the performance that he did come off of, I just don't think that there's a way that the Lions are going to stop them. So, I mean, it could be a close game. It couldn't. But I think either way, I'm going to take the Vikings here because I think they're a good team with a great offense and a not very great defense. But I also think that their offense is so much better than the Lions that they're going to be able to get that job done, especially without Golladay in there.
All right, this is going to be another one that we disagree on, I think. I'm going to bring up something that could be it's a big reason that I'm seeing that I'm going to take the Lions here. The Vikings are 2-5.
Mm-hmm.
They're 0-3 at home.
Yes.
2-0 on the road.
They're at home.
Detroit is 3-4. They're 3-1 on the road and 0-3 at home, which is weird and it seems super backwards. But you look at it, they played the Vikings at home. The Vikings played the Packers at home, lost by 9. They went to the Colts and that's their one loss. Wait, hang on. I'm sorry. I'm getting confused. I'm sorry. So they played at home against Green Bay, lost by 9. They played at home against the Titans, lost by 1. Which, I mean, Titans are a good team. That's a close game. They played at home against Atlanta, lost by 17. And that was the most recent home game they have.
Dude, Atlanta's a good team.
Detroit has played at Green Bay. That's their one loss on the road. At Arizona, won by 3. At Jacksonville, it's Jacksonville. Say what you want. At Jacksonville,
34-16.
Won by 18. Mm-hmm. At Atlanta, won by 1.
They got lucky.
Say they got lucky.
They shouldn't have won that Atlanta game.
Say they shouldn't have won it.
They still did.
Tail of the tape. Look at the scoreboard.
And you get beat by 20 to the Colts.
Atlanta lost by 17 to. I'm sorry, but the Vikings lost by 17 to Atlanta at home.
You're gonna sit here and tell? I think the Vikings offense is better than the Colts,
dude. Kirk Cousins has 10 interceptions.
He has 12 touchdowns.
10. Matthew Stafford is 13
Dalvin
and 5.
Cook has 10 touchdowns.
Okay, that's fair, but I don't know.
Also, food for thought. Matthew Stafford is on the COVID list, but
that is true.
But because of high risk. So I was wrong.
Okay.
When I said I was right. I was talking about Matthew Stafford, and I thought I heard something, but I had to look it up. It's because of high risk. He didn't test positive, but he has to test negative every day until the game to play.
Okay, well that obviously changes. If Matthew Stafford doesn't play, I'm taking the Vikings 100%. They're not winning that game.
Yeah.
They're not winning that game on the road with. I don't even remember who their backup was last year.
I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter. I 100% agree. It doesn't matter. But I think if Matthew Stafford goes, I'm picking. What's the line on that game? Why isn't it showing it to me? I am picking. It doesn't. Okay,
it
whatever.
Doesn't have it, yeah.
But anyway, ESPN has a 66.5% chance of Minnesota winning. I'm taking the Lions if Matthew Stafford plays in that game. So
Obviously.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Dang, we're disagreeing a lot more than last week.
Yeah, that's good. It spiced things up a little bit.
There you go.
All right. Next up, we are going to the worst division in football by far, maybe the worst division of all time in football. Giants at the Washington football team. Washington's favored by 2.5 in this one. I am taking Washington. I'm taking Washington on the line. I'm taking him straight up. I am taking Washington in this game by 7+.
No.
Yes.
No. Okay. So Washington's coming off a bye. They the week before that they waxed Dallas. The Giants' only win is against Washington. And then last week, they lose by 2 to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Lose by 2 to that stacked team. You could call that the Golden State Warriors of football right there. And I'm taking the Giants just because their only win is against Washington. They've done it before. And their performance against the Buccaneers surprised me so much. I think I have to take the Giants. That was also without Devontae Freeman, I believe. And he should be back. He's questionable. Sterling Shepard is back on the injury report, which makes me a little nervous because he was on IR for most of the season. I think he came back either last week or the week before. But, I mean, to lose by 2 to that good of a team and to have your only win be Washington, that gives me a lot of hope for the Giants. I'm not taking the spread or anything, but,
yeah, I mean,
I think giving the Reds, the football team, a 65% chance to win this game is a little generous, especially because they just have one more win than the Giants. And I mean, who have they beat? The Cowboys and the Cowboys and the Eagles. So it's not like they're beating any good teams, but neither of the Giants. It's just the Giants have beat Washington before, so that gives me the confidence to say that the Giants are going to win this one.
That's true. I mean, you look at the Giants' most recent games. Lost by 2 to Tampa, lost by 1 to Philly, lost by 1 to Washington, and won by 3 against the Dak Prescott having Cowboys. At least they had him for most of the game.
Yeah.
That was the game he went out in.
Yeah.
Here's something that's a little troubling to me. Again, going back to home and road splits, Giants are 0-4 on the road. This game's at home. Washington lost the last one by 1 on the road.
Wait, it's in Washington?
It's in Washington.
Yeah, it is. Okay, yeah.
Looking at again, you said Sterling Shepard's out, questionable. You said Devontae Freeman's questionable. Have you seen the stuff about Golden Tate?
What's happening?
So I can't remember exactly what happened.
Oh, not injury related.
He got sent home from practice.
Yeah.
He has been complaining about not getting usage. He had there was some quote from either the coach or the GM or the owner or something talking about how they don't like how he's kind of that he's selfish.
Like his attitude.
They don't like his
attitude. I
attitude.
saw it wasn't injury related and they wouldn't expand on it, but I didn't know.
He retweeted or liked a tweet that said, like, at the Giants just cut Golden Tate already. There's a lot of issues coming from there. Darius Slayton's their only receiver that you can expect to even be playing. That's typically starting.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the per game stats, Nationals, Washington has more points per game, gives up less points per game.
Yeah.
Has more total yards, gives up less total yards.
Eight more total yards.
They give up 208 yards through the air per game, and they give up 123.3 on the ground. 123.3 on the ground is actually a decent amount of points or of yards. But the Giants don't have running backs.
Daniel Jones.
The Giants don't have running backs.
He's going to run down that field.
I'm taking Washington in this one. I might even take the points. Probably will. Terry McLaurin is a beast.
Dwayne Haskins is the opposite of a beast.
That dual-headed monster, Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick, is a beast of a backfield. Antonio Gibson found his stride last week, had a big game. I'm sorry, they were on bye last week, but the week before had a big game. Terry McLaurin is a monster, and you can't even argue that. Terry McLaurin just got named to be a captain of the football team. I'm taking Washington in this one.
You know why? Because Landon Collins isn't playing.
I'm taking Washington.
Also, Sterling Shepard was limited in practice today, so I will take that to the grave.
You know who else has been limited in practice for the last 6 weeks? Michael Thomas. And he has not played.
Well, that's because he punched his teammate in the face.
That's funny. I'm still going Washington. Of course it's going to be close. The last time was 1 point, but I think this one goes to the football team.
Oh, no.
Hey, What's that? 3 games we've disagreed on?
Name the last time you saw a quarterback leading the team in passing, and I guess Lamar Jackson, maybe he does too, actually.
Passing and rushing yards?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson leads his team in passing and rushing.
That's not a good thing for the Giants.
That's a great thing.
Daniel Jones is leading your team in rushing. That is not a good thing for the Giants.
Yeah, because he's been dealing with running back injuries.
Saquon being out is obviously detrimental to that team.
Yeah, I think he'd still be leading him in rushing if Saquon was
there. Anyway, let's head to an AFC South showdown. Battle of the 1-6s. Texans at Jaguars. Houston's favored by 7 in this one. Houston not able to deal Will Fuller at the deadline. Do you think there's any behind-the-scenes kind of butting of heads between the two, or do you think it was just more of they kind of wanted to see what they could get for him and shop him a little bit? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a business. If you were a guy that like stuck with a team, which he has, but like he's also been on and off a lot with injuries.
Right.
Great player. No shade towards Will Fuller, but if you're looking at a guy that's been on and off with injuries, and you're looking at a team like the Packers that are desperate for a wide receiver, I don't blame the Texans really in trying to see what they can get for him, especially with a team like the Packers who need a receiver. I was a little questioned because they just traded D-Hop, so maybe they're just trying to run the ball a lot. But, I mean, they do have Brandon Cooks now, and so maybe they're thinking they don't need 2 deep threats because Will Fuller's a bit of a speedster. So, I don't know. If I was him, I wouldn't take it personally. They didn't really follow through with it.
Right.
I heard that he was impatient, but I think that was just more of him saying, like, do I need to pack my stuff up and, go? So, I wouldn't be worried about it if I was him. I mean, he's the receiving leader. They obviously like him there. It was just, I think they were trying to fiddle around before the trade deadline and see what would go on.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on this one. I mean, he's obviously been a great player. When Hopkins was there, it seemed like he was more of the big play, deep threat kind of guy. And now he's had to step up and be the number 1 receiver, and he's filled that role.
Yeah.
31 receptions, 400, almost 500 yards, 5 touchdowns. Like he's their guy. And they have Brandon Cooks. They have Randall Cobb, but their offense is kind of lacking other than Will Fuller, and it shows because they're 1-6. But in this one, I'm taking the Texans. Has Gardner Minshew got ruled out already?
Yeah, they said 3 days ago that because of his thumb, he won't play on week 9. But they also came out yesterday and said that the Jaguars are expected to throw downfield with Jake Luton.
I don't know who that is.
It's probably the quarterback.
I think the Texans take this one. Jake Luton played college football at Oregon State. 6th-round draft pick in this year's draft. I did not know that.
Wow.
I guess we'll see. Gardner Minshew was kind of the same thing last year for Jacksonville, though. I mean, if you think about it, but no, I think the Texans are winning this one. I mean, you look at their schedule; it has been brutal. It has been nothing short of brutal. They lost to the Chiefs. They lost to the Ravens. They lost to the Steelers. 3 of the top teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
Lost to the Vikings, which they're at home. We talked about how good the Vikings are on the road. Beat the Jaguars. Lost to the Titans. Lost to the Packers. I mean, that's probably the 4 top teams in the AFC and the 2nd top team in the NFC. Like, it has been brutal. I think Jacksonville this week, it's their 1 win, and I think it's going to be their 2nd win as well. I think things are going to be turning around for the Texans. Houston fans, hang on. Just hold in there a little bit longer. They play Jacksonville. They play the Browns. They play the Patriots, the Lions, Colts, Bears, Bengals, Titans. I could see them taking at least 3 or 4 more of those to salvage this season. If you're trying to tank, then I'm sorry. But I do think I do think the Texans take a couple more before the season's over.
I mean, can we go so far as to say that might be the up until this week the hardest schedule in football?
Absolutely, by far. I mean, off the top of my head, there's nothing even close to as hard. I mean, like we said, Chiefs are 7-1, Ravens are 5-2, Steelers are
Undefeated.
7-0. Vikings, they're
Good
off
offense,
and on. They're off and on.
2-5.
You don't know what you're going to get with the Vikings. It's kind of a mixed bag,
Yeah.
but you really don't know.
You beat the worst team you play.
You beat exactly. You
And
beat the team that you're better than, and then
You
Titans
take the
5-2.
Titans to OT,
Right.
which is a good thing to do.
Titans,
I feel like.
right, exactly. Titans are 5-2. Packers are 6-2 after last night. So yeah, I think I definitely think the Texans win this one pretty handily. I believe
They're like the Falcons.
Yeah.
Record doesn't show. I mean, you're not going to beat the top teams in the league, but you're definitely going to beat these mediocre teams.
for sure.
And so,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
All right, cool. Heading into the early afternoon games, 3:05 Central Standard Time, we have Raiders at the Chargers. The line is even, so they think this one's going to be a tight game. Vegas coming off of a win against the Browns. Chargers coming off that literally last-second heartbreaking loss to the Broncos. I'm taking the Chargers in this one. Joey Bosa is questionable. If he plays, he is a game changer. There's no other way to put it. He is a wreaks havoc in the backfield against quarterbacks. Their defense hasn't been great, but I mean they're averaging 427 yards a game, which is great. That's phenomenal. Their injury report, not a lot of guys on offense, which has been their strong suit, has been their offense. Their running backs are, for the most part, healthy. Troy Pope is questionable, but
they have like 800 running backs, I think.
exactly. Keenan Allen's healthy, and he's your guy, right? Like, Mike Williams is also healthy.
He had a good game last week.
Yeah,
Played him
he
in
did.
fantasy. I was happy about that.
He did, and Justin Herbert has been just great since he's been playing. Yeah, I think the Chargers take this one. Vegas is favored on ESPN. Chargers, I don't know what it changed, but this says Chargers -1 is the consensus pick.
Oh, they
And
just changed
I
it.
think the Chargers are going to win that game.
Yeah, me too. Also, yesterday, Josh Jacobs didn't practice due to illness and a knee injury. And then Troy Pope was he cleared the concussion protocol, but I don't know how many minutes he sees a game, but just for reference.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, I think that Justin Herbert has been pretty much unstoppable. They hit a dud last week at the end of the game against the Broncos, but I think if they come out firing on all cylinders again like they did, and they can actually maintain a lead for once, then they'll have this one, because their only issue is they get up and then they just can't finish the game.
Right.
I think this is the week that the Chargers get up in the first or second quarter and then actually maintain a lead throughout the rest of the game, because I don't think that the Raiders offense is honestly explosive enough, and I don't think they can fire on all cylinders as well as the Chargers offense can. So I think if the Raiders get down and the Chargers start pushing a little early, then I don't think the Raiders are going to be able to come back from that like the Broncos did last week.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, Justin Herbert is going to make a lot of money in the National Football League if he keeps playing like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he has been great. The Chargers, I mean, their weakness has been their defense. And late game, their defense has been blowing a lot of leads. And Justin Herbert's been just outstanding. And I think that continues this week against the Raiders.
Yeah.
Okay. Another mid-afternoon game. Steelers at the Cowboys. Do we need to talk about this for more than like 7 seconds?
I mean, you want me to look at injury reports?
I don't think it matters.
I
don't think it matters at all. The Steelers are gonna be 8-0. If you watched our Tuesday video, we discussed the Cowboys fantasy stock, and we think that it's just not worth touching a single person on that offense, no matter who's playing quarterback.
This
really.
has got to be one of the ugliest teams I think I've ever seen.
It's bad. Zeke's also questionable. I don't know the extent of his injury.
That's what I was going to say. Yesterday he did, instead of doing like running back drills, he did rehab on his hamstring. So I don't know if that means did not practice the whole practice, or just like maybe during individuals and warm-ups he did rehab and then went into team. All I know is that he did hamstring rehab during running back drills. So
yeah.
I mean, if I'm them, honestly, I sit him.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe the whole year. But
yeah, it's pretty bad.
yeah, no. And then I don't think that they came out and said that Ben DiNucci was benched this week.
Mm-hmm.
So who's starting? It was between two people.
It was between Garrett Gilbert and Rush was the dude's last name.
Yeah,
I don't remember his name.
They're screwed.
Yeah,
Why would you start someone new against the Steelers?
I kind of think, like you were saying, you may as well just sit Zeke. I kind of think that's their mentality.
Just see who we have.
See who we have. I mean, you're not going to get a true representation playing against potentially the best defense in college football in the NFL. But there's nothing good to say about that. The Steelers money line is minus 950, which, for those of you who know betting, that is a lot. I think. Yeah, it's not going to be close. They're favored by 14.
Yeah,
and
14-point spread.
I think they're going to cover that.
Yeah, I think so too.
For every point of that, for sure. The Steelers are going to be 8-0. They're a great football team. Defense is great. Offense is great. There's not a lot to say.
Yeah, no.
It's Big Ben looks good this year. It's
a 0.2% chance for a tie. So I want to bet on
that. Okay, the last mid-afternoon game is the Miami Dolphins at my Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are favored by 4.5.
You want to take the Dolphins again?
I
feel like you morally can't do that.
I morally and mentally and just using my brain am not going to take the Dolphins in this one. Dolphins are struggling offensively. They've had some issues with Myles Gaskin being injured. Tua, I don't think anybody knows anything about Tua yet. He looked okay, did enough, but also was like 11 for 20 with 90 yards and a touchdown last week. I mean, I think, and I've been saying this for a long time, and maybe I'm just a homer, but I think Kyler Murray is a dark horse for the MVP. They beat Seattle, handed them their one loss. They play him again in 2 weeks. If he goes to Seattle and wins that football game and is leading the division, will have at the time one of the best records in the NFC. I think there's a case. He's doing a lot for his team. Kenyon Drake just got injured, which, as much as that seems like it would suck if you watch the Cardinals, he has been terrible, averaging like barely 4 yards per carry. Again, Jared and I talked about this on Tuesday. I think Chase Edmonds is the better back, and I think Chase Edmonds is going to prove this week that he is the better back by getting a lot more snaps since Kenyon Drake's not there. Hopkins is obviously great. Their defense has been playing good. They're 5-2. Budda Baker got in a contract extension either this past year or the year before, has been the best player on that defense by far. And the 2 games that the Cardinals have lost, were the 2 that he didn't play in. So that just shows you what kind of player he's been. Although he did get chased down by DK Metcalf on that one play, he's a game changer for sure. And not a lot of impactful injuries on the report other than Kenyon Drake, obviously. But like I said, I think that might be good for the Cardinals, as much as that's hard to say. And obviously I don't wish Kenyon Drake to be injured long term. But I do think Chase Edmonds is the better back. And I do think the Cardinals come away with this one pretty handily.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think it's going to be close, especially like you're mentioning, you got Gaskin out, who's been great. And sorry. And then they actually Matt Breida didn't practice today. So the head coach said that for the Dolphins that he has a chance. I don't know what that means. If you're missing your top 2 running back, even if you're missing your number 1 running back, and this is definitely going to be a week where we really see Tua's true colors. If the Dolphins defense can play the way they played last week, good for them, good for Tua. But I don't think that's going to be the case because you're facing a way better offense than the Rams. I mean, Kyler Murray and D-Hop have just had like a really good connection all year. With D-Hop has 704 yards and 3 touchdowns. I like you said, I think the Cardinals have this one in the bag.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, Hopkins leads the league in receiving yards, and it doesn't seem like there's any slowing down.
No.
So yeah, I agree.
And receptions, but I feel like that goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and probably targets too, because he gets looked at a lot. All right. Well, let's go to.
That's actually Stephon Diggs lands in targets.
Really?
Yeah.
That also doesn't surprise me.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't surprise me either.
All right. Let's go to Sunday Night Football. We just talked about my team. Let's go to your team. The New Orleans Saints taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Tampa. 6-2 Buccaneers hosting the 5-2 Saints. What are you thinking about this one?
As much as I love my Saints, I think you would be dumb not to take the Buccaneers here. Especially because Drew Brees has been questionable all week. He's been limited in practice all week. I don't know if you were watching his game against the Bears. He had shoulder tape, which he usually doesn't have. And so he's been listed with a shoulder injury. Michael Thomas, I don't even know what the deal is with him. I know you're frustrated about that. We lost Sheldon Rankins. I don't know if he's going to be playing this week. And he's one of the best defensive linemen on our team, probably right below Cam Jordan. So, I mean, you're talking about a bunch of guys on our team that main players. And so, and then we just traded for Quan Alexander, great linebacker, but can't play because of COVID protocols.
Correct.
And so, even though yesterday, Godwin and Scotty Miller were listed as questionable. Scotty Miller, the leading receiver on the Buccaneers right now, statistically. But I just, especially the Saints, I mean, you look at it within their past 5 games, they've won by 3 against Chicago and OT. They beat the Panthers by 3. They beat the Chargers by 3. And they beat Detroit by 6. So it's not like they're blowing teams out of the water. And they went into OT against the Bears and the Chargers, who are both not great teams. So the Saints love to play close games. I mean, the week before that, they lost to the Packers by 7. So it's not like they are killing teams by 20, and it's not like they're getting killed by 20 recently. So, and that's really not the way Tom Brady goes. If he's gonna kill a team, he's gonna make sure that everyone knows that he can kill that team.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I just think with the injuries, especially with Drew Brees being questionable, I just don't think that the Saints really have a solid chance. I think the Buccaneers have a top 5 defense, and a great defense is one of the Saints' biggest weaknesses. It's just, I don't know. As much as I want to say that Drew Brees is going to beat Tom Brady, I think it's going to be a real uphill battle, and I don't think doing 3-yard check down Alvin Kamara without your best receiver on the field is going to get it done. So
yeah, I agree. I think Tampa takes this one. The thing is, I mean, you look at week 1, New Orleans was home, but
they did beat them.
They won 34-23
with Michael Thomas.
Kind of. I mean, he played, but he had 4 receptions for.
That's true.
I'm sorry, he had 2 receptions for like 23 yards.
Also, Brady's first game with the Buccaneers.
That's true. And that was before Brady was kind of, I think he implemented like his own playbook. Like he came in and
after that game, he was like, no, we're
game.
running things my way now.
Yeah.
And it's worked out.
It has
obviously.
worked out 100%. Yeah, you touched on it. Scotty Miller and Chris Godwin, both questionable, but Tampa gets a bad man this week. Tampa gets potentially the best wide receiver since 2010, in my opinion. I think of the 2010s decade, there's a case for 3 wide receivers to be titled as the best. Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson, obviously, didn't play a whole lot of it. But Antonio Brown joins the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week.
Such an idiot. You were saying that, I was like, Chris Godwin's still questionable.
No,
I didn't even think about him.
Antonio Brown joins the Bucs. Antonio Brown played 1 game last season with Brady in New England. He had he only played like a third of the snaps, and he caught a touchdown, had like 4 receptions for like 60 yards or something like that, and a touchdown. He is we talked earlier. Said Joey Bosa was a game changer. He is the definition of a game changer. He was the best player on one of the best teams in the NFL for 6 years in a row in Pittsburgh. He, talking about from a fantasy perspective, was a top 5 receiver for 6 years in a row before having all those off the field issues, getting cut by Pittsburgh, not playing more than 1 game last season. He is an elite receiver that, again, I mean, he played 1 game with Pittsburgh, so in theory he could play this game with Tampa and then get cut.
The Steelers or the Patriots, man?
Yeah, sorry, not Tampa. Right. Bruce Arians, the Tampa Bay head coach, has already said, basically said that he needs to put the team first or he won't be on the team.
Yeah.
And it seems like there is going to be a very, very low tolerance for how much stuff they're going to put up with from Antonio Brown. And seeing the past few years, there is a lot of stuff that Antonio can bring to your team that you don't want. But if he can just put his head down, perform, stay on the straight and narrow, and be Antonio Brown that we all know he can be, look out, because he brings an explosiveness that he's basically Chris Godwin and Mike Evans combined, and is better than both of them. And
so is Scotty Miller, apparently.
That's fair, I guess. Scotty Miller, the 1 week I played him in fantasy because I had injuries, he put up 0 points for me. So
there you go.
I don't really like Scotty Miller a whole lot. But yeah, I agree. I think Tampa wins this game. I think Antonio Brown will play probably 25-30% of the snaps just to kind of feel him in. But I think there's a lot of bright things to come if he plays.
The thing about Antonio Brown is he doesn't need to know the playbook. You can literally just throw him in and say, I want you to run a go route or a post.
And he'll beat anybody.
Yeah. And so, I mean, like you said, the off the field antics, I'm excited to see or nervous to see. I don't really know how I feel about it, how he handles it, because I don't think he has ever been on a team this caliber when it comes to offensive players. Right. I mean, you got Chris, when he's healthy, when the team's healthy, you got Chris Godwin, you got Mike Evans, Tom Brady with his little white guy, Scotty Miller. Ronald Jones is a great running back, and Tom Brady is a quarterback that likes to spread the ball around.
Don't forget about
Gronk. Yes, and he's coming in nicely, like the old Brady and Gronk we talked about last week. So I don't think Antonio Brown would sign with this team with intent of saying I want like 80% of the targets. I think he wants to win a Super Bowl and prove that he could win a Super Bowl. He says he's a better man now. His therapist has come out and said, yeah, we did everything he needs to do. He's looking good. And I mean, I feel like at this point, he's had 2 weeks of practice. Bruce Arians would know whether he likes him or not. That being said, your true colors don't really come out until a game, because he might be getting thrown to a lot in practice every day just to see how Tom Brady feels with them. I know they've already been on a team before, but right. New team, new playbook, or old playbook, I guess. But I don't know. I think once you get the addition of that, I think they have a very strong chance of being the top team in the league, depending on what happens with the Chiefs. But I mean, that's just like an unstoppable offense to me. I don't get how a team's going to beat that.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, Bruce Arians, like I mentioned, he said basically be a team player or don't be on the team, and that's the same thing that Mike Tomlin said to him at Pittsburgh when he was getting frustrated about not getting targeted and not getting it. For some reason, he felt like he wasn't getting the usage that he needed to, which apparently that means getting every single target of every game, because again, like I said, he was I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me for his fantasy seasons, but for 6 straight years, he was a top 5 wide receiver, and you don't get to be a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy football without being elite and being used like an elite wide receiver. And so I think in the 2 years that he's had off, I would hope, and like you said, him and his therapist have come out and said, I would hope that he has learned that football is a team sport. You don't win by yourself. And the point of playing football is to win football games. And that's what I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to do a lot of if he's on the team.
Yeah. I mean, for you, you're just talking about it. Since 2013, including 2013, other than 2019, obviously, because he played 1 game. He never had a season. He had 1 season, under 160 targets. That season, he had 154. So, like, he was getting – I think he just had some mental stuff that he had to take care of, and I really hope that he did because I like watching him as a player. I haven't really liked him that much as a person recently because of what's been going on, but I hope he got it all figured out, and I mean, I hope he does well because it'll be fun. I mean, I know that they're in the same division as the Saints, so it won't be that fun to watch, but it would be an interesting offense to look at.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at, like you were saying, so 13 through 18 is what I was mentioning, those 6 years in a row where he was top of the top of wide receivers. Look at 18, the last year where he complained about targets, complained about usage, ended up getting cut from the Steelers. 104 receptions, 168 targets, 1,300 yards, and 15 touchdowns. As a wide receiver, he had 15 touchdowns.
Like, bro, I had 2 touchdowns my senior year. Can you chill?
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people that hit in the 2017 playoffs where he got literally knocked out against the Bengals. Vontae's perfect with that pretty dirty hit. A lot of people have speculated that could have been a cause of a lot of just things going on in his head. But I mean, he's clearly elite. The stats show it. The number, like I was saying, I think he's top 3 of the decade, if not number 1. And I think he's going to bring a lot to this Buccaneers team that is already humming on offense.
Yeah.
They're literally taking one of the best offenses in football, if not the best, and putting in just, oh yeah, this guy could be the best player in football in next year if he plays the whole season.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big win for the Buccaneers that they got him, assuming he can stay in line and perform like everybody knows he can.
I agree.
So this last game that we're going to talk about, the Monday Night Football game, MetLife Stadium, the New England Patriots go to New York, go to East Rutherford, New Jersey, and take on the Jets.
2017 NFL Draft, the New York Jets.
But yeah, the Jets are 0-8. Patriots are 2-5, coming off a big loss in Buffalo. Take it away, Michael.
I'm taking the Jets, baby. I'm taking the Jets. Listen to these crazy stats. You got Cam Newton, 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the year. You got Sam Darnold, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the year. I mean, you can't beat that. Sam Darnold's an absolute menace on the field. He's going to hand the ball off to Frank Gore. I give Frank Gore 90 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. I give Sam Darnold 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. And if Jamison Crowder is healthy, you cannot stop this offense if you're the Patriots. Everyone else can stop this offense. But 11.8 points per game for the Jets, while the Patriots have 19. They allow 30 points per game. The Patriots allow 24. They, however, allow only 283 yards, while the Patriots allow 364. Sorry, that's their totals on offense. Wow, never mind. The Jets allow 406, while the Patriots allow 368. You know, I don't have a lot of stats to back this one up, but it's just a gut feeling. I mean, you had a close 35-9 loss against the Chiefs. Just watch, dude. Just watch.
Hey,
They haven't had Jamison Crowder the past couple weeks. They just lost Le'Veon. Give him a chance. I don't know if Julian Edelman's playing. I don't know if Stephon Gilmore's playing. But they both didn't play last week. And I think if the Jets get Jamison Crowder back, and they're losing Stephon Gilmore and Julian Edelman, I don't think that they're going to do that well.
watch out for the Jets, the team that in week, what is that week? A couple weeks ago, put up a goose egg in Miami. Got beat 24-0 by the Dolphins. I mean, I love the call. I love the call. You look back to last week. I made a similar call about the Dolphins. I didn't really know why I thought the Dolphins were going to win, but I did, and they won. And so I'm riding it. I'm saying I called it, and I mean I agree. I think New England's not great. Looking back at what game was that we talked about? The Giants game. You spoke about how Daniel Jones was a great quarterback because he was the team's leading passer and rusher. Cam Newton as well. Cam Newton as well fits that category. 300 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. I'm still for sure taking the Patriots, but I love the confidence and I love the boldness, and you will hear about it on Twitter for sure if it hits.
You definitely
and
will.
you will definitely hear if it doesn't because I will be clowning this fool on Twitter. But either way, it's going to be a fun game to watch Monday night. 2 lackluster teams that, who knows? Maybe it's a high-scoring game. I'm going to put this game at 20. I'm 35.
High scoring.
35-31. New England wins.
My computer just died, so I can't look up specific stats. But it's just like both of these defenses are so bad.
Exactly.
But their offenses are bad too. So it's like, who's gonna carry who? Like, is it gonna be one team's defense and then one team's offense that steals the show, or is it gonna be both the defenses or both the offenses? It's really a toss up.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be both offenses, especially if Jamison Crowder's back for Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when it comes to stat lines, he kind of carried the Jets until he got injured, because like he was like the only player on that team that I would be willing to have in fantasy.
Yeah.
It's just like what they have 3 or 4 passing touchdowns on the year, and the Patriots they have one more passing touchdown.
And the Patriots have 2.
Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah, that's sad.
no, they have 4 because Mahomes threw 5 against them. They have 4, and the Patriots have 3. Their backup threw 1 when they benched Cam Newton. So they had Cam Newton has 2.
Right, and Joe Flacco played a couple of those games, so probably threw 1, I guess, because Sam Darnold only has 3. So
Yeah.
So I guess when Sam Darnold was hurt, Joe Flacco threw 1. I mean, looking back, Cam Newton has not had a lot of good games this season.
All he knows is work.
Looking at week 2 against Seattle, he was 30 for 44, 397 yards, and one of his 2 touchdowns came in that week. Along with 2 more rushing touchdowns.
That rushing stat's actually pretty crazy because his MVP season, I think he finished with 10 rushing touchdowns. So
Yeah, I mean, hey, he's
obviously not throwing the
Cam
ball.
Newton is my MVP front runner right now, based on what
Really?
you just said and based on my intuition. I think he throws his 3rd, 4th, and runs for his 7th touchdowns of the season this week, and I think they come out with a 35-31, fairly close game, fairly high-scoring game against the Jets this week.
I'm still taking the Jets, baby.
I'm taking the Patriots. We'll see.
Name someone on the Patriots that has as much experience as Frank Gore.
Nobody in the league has, except for Tom Brady.
Exactly.
Bill Belichick. Checkmate. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for us. This has been the Dual Threat Podcast, your daily news source for all things sports. Make sure to follow us on Twitter if you're not already, at Dual Threat, and follow us on TikTok. If you have a TikTok, there are definitely going to be a lot of clips from this video on there.
Yes, sir.
At Dual Threat Podcast. If you disagree with anything, specifically the Jets winning this football game,
or agree,
leave it in the comments. Make sure to hit subscribe. Make sure to hit the like button, and we will see you on Monday for our recap of all these games. I think that's it from us.
Good. Jets.